March 7th, 2025. Good to have you here. And, well, big story has been a few different things. There's been a European-style NATO, but it's kind of changed up too, because Syria is devolving into a civil war again. So we're going to be covering that. That's a good portion. I'll kind of tell you the who, what, where, and when, and why. And, yeah, it's bad. Pro-Assad troops are back and all that. And then, of course, you got the Druze and the Alawites and everything else. So Syria is a mess. But Europe is talking about doing a European-style NATO. So it doesn't involve America. Something that basically just draws on their own funding and people. And so there's an idea for a Baltic one that would have Poland and the Baltics and a few other different countries and all that. But we'll just have to see how it all pans out. But yeah, good amount of material here tonight. So we're going to be talking all about it. Can't wait for these to get a little earlier. We're just still, really a busy family, and so I got to do it when I can do it. And yeah, so I don't know if I've gotten to a I'm too old for this ish kind of way, but I don't know. There's a lot of trolls and a lot of things like that, and I don't play around with that anymore. Okay, so as my father said, act like an asshole, get treated like one. So be good here, be nice to my mods, do what we say. I come here, I do my thing, and that's it. I try to be a positive voice in the community. I try to give people useful information so they can see what's going on before, and I have no control over what other people do, whether that's a commenter or another content creator or whoever. Okay? I just try to be a positive voice. So if there are non-positive voices or someone's got issues or anything like that, hit me up. Let's talk about it. Okay? I haven't gotten as far in life as I have without looking problems in the eye and saying, what's going on? How do we fix it? So, all right. On that note, friends, God bless you all. We're going to get started on the crisis report for March 7th, 2025. Here we go. Oh, wait. Is it March 7th or March 6th? March 6th. Screwed it up. That's how tired I am. We'll fix that in the post-op. Love you, bye. Here we go. Hunter Biden asked a judge to dismiss his laptop lawsuit, claiming he's financially broke with millions in debt, worsened by the LA wildfires. Someone get me a violin. Nobody cares, dude. Nobody cares. CIA initiates a Doge-inspired purge, ordering employees to an off-site location to surrender their badges. Funny thing is, in all this, I think the off-site place is a black ops site. So they might have shown another little bit of area of where we take some friends and we want to question them. But judging by what I've seen with the three-letter agencies and everything, I got no problem with this whatsoever. Dismantle them. Most of them are doing, crap they shouldn't be doing anyway. So I don't think there's even an argument for security in what they provide anymore. So all I see is just waste of money. United States House of Representatives voted 224 to 198 to censure Congressman Al Green for interrupting President Trump's speech. Nobody likes an old guy with a cane wagging in their face. Russia's negotiating with Syria to retain its military bases. According to the report, negotiations between Syria and Russia involve billions of dollars in cash and investments, gas, ports, stuff like that. Reconstruction of the port of Tartus and the phosphate and hydrocarbon fields in the Palmyra region are the main topics of the negotiations. Funny that this was going on and there were negotiations, and all of a sudden a civil war breaks out. Crazy. Number of people injured in the accidental bombing of residential buildings. The South Korean Air Force fighter KF-16 jet has risen to 15. So they're doing some mock flights, some testing and all that. And they say, hey, drop some bombs. And the idiot does it right on top of a little village and hurts a lot of people. Number of people injured in the accidental bombing is 15. We covered that. Israeli far-right politician Itamar Ben-Gvir. Israel should take advantage of Trump's warning and unleash hell on Gaza. NATO countries are wary of each other, and distrust exacerbates the risk of intelligence sharing. Current and former alliance and security officials said. There have long been strains of mistrust between the alliance's traditional Western members and newcomers from the ex-communist East. This has worsened since Russia's attack on Ukraine. Hungary and Slovakia have been seen as unreliable. Many are granted anonymity to discuss the sensitive matter, but now the U.S. shift towards Russia under Trump is making the core of the alliance, pumping countries to wonder about the risk of sharing intelligence with Washington, 5 of the officials said. So I'll get some thoughts on this. Europe is not a Western country anymore. They don't believe in freedom of speech. They don't believe in personal liberties or anything like that. So to be honest with you, I don't care what happens to them. I don't care. If you can't even protect people's speech, what are we doing here? So you're closer to Soviet Russia than you are to anything Western or Occidental, if you go look that word up. Not at all. French Defense Minister Lechonu. All U.S. intelligence to Ukraine is suspended. France is offering the intelligence to Kiev. Okay? Why? Are they winning? No. Just posting off the inevitable. Zelensky announces that 4 people were killed as a result of the Russian ballistic missile strike on a hotel in Kryvyi. American Sikorsky UH-60 helicopter made an emergency landing in Honduras. No casualties. Israeli occupation is expanding in the West Bank via settlers. We will see that will be very similar to Gaza. Settlers are pushing for the rapid expansion of Jewish settlements in the West Bank. More than 30 IDF battalions were deployed to the West Bank. IDF soldiers give backup Israeli settlers in West Bank. Some settlers say that they influence military strategy. Palestinian families face displacement as Israeli authorities approve new settlements. Palestinian families face increased displacement. It goes on from there. So obviously, they're no fans of Israel and what they're doing. But the question is not whether we have a reason to attack terror activity in the West Bank. The question is how we see refugee camps emptied of Palestinians. We see military operations led by armored bulldozers. There you go. U.S. President's actions are a wake-up call for the entire unite and design our own center of gravity. That's according to Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. Turkey would want to be a part of the new European security architecture if NATO unravels. So this is where all the rhetoric of all this started to happen today. Reporter, is there any talk or thoughts about United States military forces going into Mexico? J.D. Vance said no. Canadian Foreign Minister, Canada could potentially use oil and gas exports as a lever in negotiations if U.S. tariffs on Canadian imports escalate. Some guy tried to say to me today on PrepperNow that I didn't know what I was talking about for things like liquor and beer being made over in Canada. So let me give you a little fact. I posted a thing, it was Newswire, whatever, it's some website, but it's talking about how Labatt's brews a lot of American beers up there. Now, why do you think they do that? Oh, that's right. So they don't have to get in trouble with the tariffs and stuff. Okay? Quick question. In what year did Labatt's brew Budweiser for consumption in Canada? That's right, it was 1980. 1980, yeah. So for multiple decades, 45 years, the beer in a lot of Canada is made, for American beer, it's made up there. Because you do it on purpose. They're not stupid. So this whole tariff thing is not going to... We get the brunt of it in America. So everybody going, oh, it's going to ruin it. We're already getting tariffed to death. So I'll see how it pulls or shakes out, but don't think for 1 second that all of a sudden all this oh my god Budweiser no, it's made up there. Canada could potentially use oil and gas exports to lever negotiations and U.S. tariffs on Canadian imports escalate. Turkish MOD, the PKK, and all affiliated groups must immediately and unconditionally cease their terrorist activities, disband and surrender their weapons. Noteworthy that the organization has finally come to realize, albeit belatedly, that terrorism leads nowhere. Its time has ended. Disbanding is its only option. Chinese Commerce Minister, if the U.S. goes down the wrong path, we will follow it to the end. And some tough words, China. Ukraine previously received 80% of its intelligence from allies, primarily the U.S. Washington has now ceased all intelligence sharing. Will inevitably be a huge setback for Ukraine. There's no way to deny that. Neil Barnett, CEO, London-based intelligence consultancy SUBSTACK Associates. The British will try to fill the gap. We are listening posts Akothiri airbase and Rivet joint surveillance flights in the region, but obviously we don't have all the capabilities the Americans do. China vows to fight U.S. trade war to the end. President Trump's administration is considering a plan to stop and inspect Iranian oil tankers at sea under an international accord aimed at countering the spread of weapons of mass destruction. CIA begins Doge-inspired purge employees as they get summoned to off-site location to surrender badges. Trump likely to defer tariffs on goods under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Pact or USMCA. That thing. Lutnick is the guy's name. Canada, U.S. in trade war for foreseeable future, despite tariff carve-outs, Trudeau said. Russia sentenced the British mercenary James Scott Anderson to 19 years in prison on charges of terror and mercenary offenses in the Kursk region. James is a former British soldier that went to Ukraine to join the war against Russia. Trump administration has entered into direct talks with the Ukrainian opposition. Zelensky is on his way to be removed. 4 senior members of President Trump's entourage have secretly met with Ukrainian opposition leaders on potentially holding early elections to unseat Zelensky, per Politico. Most likely, the ceasefire minerals agreement will be signed by another president. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warns that Russia will not tolerate any NATO troops in Europe. This comes after Marcus Starmer and Macron, Starmer, and other European leaders have announced of possible deployment of troops to Ukraine. Breaking news. Trump launches a massive purge of the CIA, started dismissing recently hired officers, government-wide reductions ordered by Trump admin. Other employees hired within the last 2 years were summoned to the on-site location and told to surrender their credentials. Europe is preparing to continue the war with Russia because that's what an idiot would do. Macron calling the French people to tell them to the homeland needs you. France will follow only one course, that of the will for peace and freedom, faithful to its history and its principles. Homeland needs you and your commitment, they said. French Army Minister said the military budget could increase by $90 billion annually. French company Eutelsat is preparing to replace Starlink in Ukraine and is ready to deploy around 40,000 communication terminals. European plan considers deploying a force of 120 fighter jets to secure skies over Kiev, western Ukraine, from Russian attacks. That's according to The Guardian. Europe is developing a non-NATO plan to deploy 10,000 troops to the ground in Ukraine. Initiative will be conducted independently of NATO, Guardian reports. Ursula von der Leyen announced $800 billion for Ukraine and Europe defense. Europe faced a clear threat, and for this purpose, on the EU armament plan was prepared for 800 billion euros of investment in defense. Russia announced that every EU soldier who will step up in Ukraine have joined the war. President Trump is considering redefining the U.S. role in NATO, including the possibility of ending its commitment to defend allies if attacked. All right. Breaking, Mr. Trump signed an executive order establishing strategic Bitcoin reserve statement. There's a little link right there if you ever need it. You just go right there and click it or copy paste it. It's yours. Trump says French's shipping giant CMA CGM is going to make a $20 billion U.S. investment. Taiwan says detects 11 Chinese balloons near its island. Russia will not tolerate any NATO troops in Ukraine, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has said. Lavrov added, Napoleon and Hitler are Macron's predecessors. Accusations of Russian preparing a war against Europe are nonsense. Moscow considers Macron's nuclear rhetoric a threat to Russia as well. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, Europe must enter an arms race with Russia and win it. In Europe, Ukraine Zelensky is being applauded, shaken hands with, kissed, and hugged. Pope audio message said, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers, for my health from the square. I accompany you from here. May God and I bless you, and the Virgin the Virgin protects you. Thank you. Polish Prime Minister Donald Trump, Europe must enter into an arms race with Russia. In Europe, Ukraine Zelensky is being applauded, shaking hands, kissed, hugged. I went the wrong way. It begins Monopoly, goes cashless. So we got this one from tonight. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said Ukraine should be granted the security of NATO, including Article 5, without actual membership in the military alliance. Human body is dragged behind a car while people shout Allah Akbar, and Syria descends into chaos. All right. Trump says it would be great if everybody would get rid of their nuclear weapons. I know Russia and us have them for the most. China will have an equal amount within 4 to 5 years. It would be great if we could denuclearize. Between the power of nuclear weapons is crazy. Macron once again explains why he wants the war in Ukraine to continue. He said we have unmasked this game. Ceasefire is not to make him a lasting peace. So he wants to keep on fighting. Israeli Air Force in a joint aerial exercise of the U.S. Air Force. This week, the Israeli Air Force conducted a joint aerial exercise of the U.S. Air Force. Exercise aimed at strengthening and maintain long-standing cooperation between the forces while expanding connectivity and building integrated capabilities for a range of accessories. As part of the exercise, Israeli F-35I and F-15I aircraft flew alongside a B-52 strategic bomber. During the flight, the forces practiced operational coordination between the two militaries to enhance their ability to address various regional threats. Cooperation between the IDF and CENTCOM reflects the strategic alliance that we have. Reuters report Trump administration is planning another move against Iran's arms smuggling and is preparing to stop tankers at sea under the authority of Non-Proliferation Treaty. We could keep going, but whatever. Palestinian source claims U.S. has proposed a new outline under which 10 hostages will be released alive in exchange for extending the ceasefire in Gaza by 60 days, resuming the entry of humanitarian aid, and release terrorists. According to the report, Hamas has yet responded. Clashes have spread to the Tartus province, coastal city of Syria, where the Russian base used to be. Syrian government forces are using live fire rounds against the protesters. Multiple casualties reported. U.S. will close Iran's access to the global financial system, according to the U.S. Treasury Secretary. Mosques in Idlib and Hama are calling for jihad and a general mobilization towards the coast following the announcement by Muqdad Fatifa, an Assad loyalist, and the start of an operational named liberation of the coast. Full-blown civil war in Syria, and Sunnis are attacking the Alawites. Latakia and the Alawites are killing each other just as well. So, tit for tat. Not good. European Union is considering creation of a unified European army. This proposal has been discussed in the European Parliament, with some deputies advocating for the establishment to enhance European defense capabilities. So, however, the idea faces challenges, including the need for significant structural changes and potential opposition from the U.S., which benefits from controlling U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recently stated that the U.S. is prepared to go to war with China in response to Beijing's threats over the rising trade tensions. Comes after China announced it would retaliate against the new U.S. tariffs. Denmark has proposed the creation of a military alliance involving Nordic countries, Baltic states, Poland. The suggestion stems from concerns about, of course, the U.S. and their tapping out. Netherlands has committed to investing $700 million in drone production, with a great portion of the funds allocated to support Ukraine's defense industry. Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof discussed this initiative with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. Lithuania has officially withdrawn from the Convention on Cluster Munitions, CCM, becoming the first country to have left that since 2008. Yeah, that's not good. Norway is considering using its 1.7 trillion sovereign wealth fund to significantly boost support for Ukraine amid concerns about reduced U.S. military backing. Europe develops plan to deploy 10,000 troops to Ukraine, according to The Guardian. Initiative will be implemented independently of NATO. 20 countries could join Starmer's coalition of the willing, and Britain and France are leading proposals for a post-war settlement in the hope of ending the 3-year war against Ukraine by Russia. China is against U.S.-Russia talks with the Ukraine and EU participation. A peace of agreement for Ukraine cannot be determined only between the U.S. and Russia, insiders said. Brussels under pressure. Kylan Georgescu, he's the Romanian guy. SVR's analysis, the changing of Kylan Georgiou's came at the Brussels order as more than a metaphorical bomb. The analysis is meant in the prosecutor on the case, Marius Jacob. Hopefully I said that right. Marius Jacob. That's a new one. Now for the Prosecutor General Alex Florenta, not for the term interim president Ili Bolojan, not for the Premier Marcel Kiolaku, or the Minister of Internal Affairs Caitlin Predieu. Analysis is meant for Brussels and Ursula von der Leyen. It goes in from there. It's boring. So, if you're a tech nerd, you might want to watch it. It's there for you. It is evident that the SVR's analysis will be interpreted by the adversaries of Kylan Georgescu as an endorsement from Russia. Keep fighting the good fight. Over $1 trillion vanished from the U.S. stock market today. Uh-oh. Trump says, I asked Saudi Arabia to invest $1 trillion in American companies, even the next 4 years, and they agreed. Why not? After their approval, I will visit Saudi Arabia this spring. U.S. has shut down satellite intelligence for Ukraine, not just for the Russia, but entirely. Ukraine's OSINT Telegram channel Cyber Boroshmo Doge's federal property sell-off efforts accidentally revealed CIA black site in Northern Virginia, according to Bloomberg. What's happening in Syria during operations against former Assad regime Syrian government forces targeted networks led by Brigadier General Gayaf Dalla and coordinated by former Air Force Intelligence Chief Major General Ibrahim Aweja. These cells killed the ex-regime officer Mohammed Mahrez Jabir, began organizing Latakia and Homs, received support from Yasser Ramadan al-Hajjal, field commander in Sahel al-Hassan's forces, with financial backing from Hezbollah and Iraqi militias, logistics aid from YPG, PKK, and more. U.S. FBI and United States Department of Justice arrested U.S. Army First Lieutenant Tian and Sergeant John Zhao from Joint Base Lewis McChord, along with former soldier Royo Dewan. They are accused of selling classified military secrets to operatives of Communist China, MSS, China Communist Party. Charges include conspiracy, bribery, and theft. And that, my friends, is your crisis report for the night. There it is. Yep, make sure. Yep, that's it. God bless. Consider becoming a member here. It's a couple bucks. Keeps the lights on. Consider subscribe to our locals, or just consider going on to Twitter, X, Minds, Truth, Twitter, X, Minds. I always forget one. Doesn't matter. God bless, friends. Oh, Gab, that's the one. We will see you on the next one.